Inside. Let's go.
The Evil Within doesn't rely on cheap jump scares. It's driven by a slow, sustained, and pervasive sense of dread that sets your mind racing at every crunch of glass beneath your feet and every distant groan from an unseen enemy. Much of this tension is thanks to the game's striking use of atmosphere, but it's also a testament to an action-heavy combat system whose scant ammunition and immediate threat of death is just as demanding as it is satisfying. Were it not for the occasional stumble into moments of immense frustration and an aimless, sputtering story, The Evil Within could have been something truly great. What's left, though, is an uneven but still enjoyable ode to the glory days of survival horror. At the center of it all is Sebastian Castellanos, a detective called in to investigate a vicious collection of murders at a local mental hospital. The brief preamble leading up to this investigation is all the calm that The Evil Within can muster, because from then on, Castellanos is sent tumbling through a twisted and only occasionally coherent story involving supernatural apparitions, gruesome monsters, and a seemingly infinite series of nightmarish backdrops. It's not a good story, nor is it self-aware, lacking any trace of that cheeky, almost a Jill Sandwich charm of early survival horror games. It is genuinely, earnestly bad. Castellanos is a wooden and thoroughly uninteresting protagonist, a gruff cop with a dark past who drinks his problems away. Then there's the overarching plot, so meandering and slipshod with its constant jumps in and out of Castellanos' tormented visions, that all this narrative trickery becomes routine, even numbing in a way. And so the world lacks context, but it doesn't lack impact. The Evil Within is a horror experience built on such an outstanding foundation, the chilling use of light and shadow, the menacing audio flourishes, that merely traversing through its environments is enough to make your heart skip a few beats. Whether it has you exploring a derelict hospital ward, the catacombs beneath an old cathedral, or even that most weathered of survival horror settings, the creepy mansion, The Evil Within transports you through a diverse assortment of places with one theme tying them all together, an absolutely terrifying sense of atmosphere. There's more to contend with than eerie sights and sounds, of course. The Evil Within is full of grotesque creatures who relish every opportunity to rend you limb from limb. There are the vaguely human monsters that populate early chapters, wielding hatchets and hurling sticks of dynamite like supercharged zombies, but as the game wears on, you're pitted against increasingly nasty and more challenging foes. But no matter where you are in the game's lengthy story, death is never far around the corner. The Evil Within is a brutal experience where the slightest lapse in concentration can turn you into a pool of viscera on the ground. As a result, caution and patience are your greatest allies in this fight for survival. Every handgun round feels precious, every healing syringe feels like it could be your last. But for as stingy as the game is with its resources, it's also rich in choices. Do you shoot an enemy in the leg and burn him while he's down, or risk going for the headshot? Do you throw a bottle to lure him toward a booby trap, or salvage the trap for parts to craft a new crossbow bolt? You're always making these tense, moment-to-moment decisions that challenge your creativity and resourcefulness. But when your craftiness pays off and you manage to scrape through an encounter with your body intact, the payoff is immense. And beyond that, the combat just feels good. The weapons are impactful, headshots are suitably gruesome. It all just works. The Evil Within does a remarkable job of pushing you to your limit, but there are moments when it crosses that line and the experience suffers for it. The autosave system is a finicky little thing that behaves by its own strange logic, firing off a bunch of saves at some points and holding them back for long stretches at others. Then there are the boss battles. Most are enjoyable encounters, forcing you to take the same wits and creativity you've been refining in basic combat and dial them up to a whole new level. but others require these very specific, very obtuse secondary goals hidden somewhere in the environment. It's these fights that you need to plow through over and over until you figure out the right process, a chore made even more tedious by the game's glacial load times and habit of repeating the same boss introduction cinematic. But those are a few clumsy missteps in an otherwise captivating game, because for as much as the evil within does stumble, it always seems to recover. What it does at its core, it does so well that all those issues floating on the periphery just eventually fade away to reveal a satisfying, if slightly blemished, return to classic survival horror.
God damn it.